Welcome to Shade and the City. I'm your girl Treese, and yes, we are here to do none other than what? Go beyond the gates. This is season 1, episode 97. I know which one you are waiting for, and I synced it. I synced it live, okay? I was trying to take notes, but then at a certain point, and I'm still processing how I feel about it because I'm still upset. So, y'all gonna get that a little later on in the Saturday, um, Saturday morning. But I'm not happy. Okay, so I'm still processing. All right, okay. So this is Thursday's recap of Beyond the Gates. If you haven't already, all of my Beyond the Gate Shade Squad and all of my new viewers as well, go ahead and hit that like button for me. And if you liking the vibe, go ahead and do me a favor and subscribe. Okay. We trying to, climb and get to 2K, share, bring a friend, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, y'all. So let's get into Thursday's episode and let's get shady. All right, y'all. So we start off, we see Anita in the living room. She doing her little boom boom cat, you know what I'm saying? Her little choreography or whatever. And then Vernon walks in looking at her like a whole little snack. You know what I'm saying? He's like, oh, that thing look good. You know what I mean? I remember the time when we fell in love. Okay. So they're interrupted by Martin, who says that he's actually going to see Nicole, which Vernon's like, well, that's a good idea. And Martin lets him know that, Smitty basically will not talk to him outside of discussing the kids' schedules. So Martin says that Smitty wants him to prove that he's serious. And so Vernon said, well, what does that look like? And he basically said he doesn't want Nicole to be in the dark of what happened with KKK Kenny and thinks that it's the only way he can get Smitty back is if basically he goes and tells her the whole truth for nothing but the truth, right? And that's when Anita looks at Vernon after Martin leaves, and she's like, I just feel like this reunion concert is almost impossible with everything going on with this family. Didn't I say that last recap? I said, why y'all putting all this on Anita right now? She got a lot going on. Let her breathe a little bit. Okay. We move over to Nicole, who happened to be on a phone call. And I guess she's talking to the people that she worked for, letting them know that, the storm has passed. Okay. Her sunshine has come. Okay. And so she's ready to get back to work. All right. So then we see Deputy Dogood. He meets Naomi down at Orphe Jean's. And she realizes that, his mind is still at work. And she's like, I need you to focus. Look at me. Focus. All right. And so he tells Naomi, look, I really don't like having your family in my duty books. Like, again. So Naomi's confused because she was like, I thought you dropped the whole Martin situation. And Jacob's like, no, it's your aunt this time, Nicole. So Naomi was like, you're joking, right? Aunt Nicole, she won't even jaywalk. What you mean? That's not my Aunt Nicole. You must mean somebody else, Aunt Nicole. And he tells her about Leslie's complaint against Nicole and that Ted refused to, provide a statement. Naomi tells him that was smart. And then she looks at Deputy Dogood and she's like, oh, I hope you didn't. You better not have put cuffs on my auntie. Okay. And Jacob lets Naomi know, look, nobody saw it. The staff nor cameras. So he said he took it to the DA's office and they didn't have enough to make an arrest. So he was really going to follow through. That's it for me. I know it didn't happen. It's the part that he went all the way down to the DA's office and okay. Deputy Dogood. All right. So Naomi's like, can you please keep the Dupree name off your radar? And Deputy said, it's not up to me. And he brings up his unanswered questions about Martin. And can I say, and this is a sidebar, and this was so funny to me, but literally ever since I did that Smokey the Bear thing, I legit keep seeing Smokey the Bear commercials. I don't know if it's like the 50th 100-year anniversary. I'm legit. I thought I was going nuts. I was like, talk about speaking things to existence. But now it's like only you can prevent wildfires. But it's a whole AI Smokey the Bear now. And I thought I was tripping. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Oh, that's weird. But anyway, Naomi reminds Jacob that no one is asking him to pursue this Martin thing and said there's nothing connecting him and that guy in the park. Deputy Dogood tells Naomi that justice doesn't care about last names or see colors or genders. And so Naomi is like, oh, okay, so you're going to spin it and try to use my grandfather's lines to justify your point? Okay, okay, I see what you're doing. And so Jacob asked, well, what would Vernon do? And so Naomi said, protect his own, which you need to learn how to do, which you seem to have a problem doing. And so she lets him know that, look, my grandfather is no saint by any means. He fought the good fight for his family. And at the end of the day, he's going to have every Dupree's back no matter what. That's what Vernon would do. Okay. So now we see Kat. She over here at Ted's office tracking down Eva's location from, the computer. So Eva brings, and shout out to, I cannot remember the Twitter ex user's name. She called them tomatoes, and that took me out. I said, I like that so much better because that's what he gives me. Tomato, tomato. I am so done with him. Okay. Especially after today's episode. But I like I said, I'm still processing. I'm not ready to go down that road yet. Okay. Let's pivot. This is when he first pissed me off. All right. So Eva brings tomatoes back to her room, and conveniently, she can't find the book. Conveniently. Okay. So they start talking about what kind of bras she wears. And I was like, really? Is this what we okay. Okay. If that's how y'all get into y'all foreplay, y'all flirty conversation, whatever. Y'all okay. So Tomas don't give a damn about that Eva finding that book. And then they get all hot and heavy and they getting ready to have relations. But Eva can't go through with it because she says she don't want to be exactly the woman that Kat is accusing her of being. And I said, like your mama, home wrecker. Okay. So Tomas says that, well, me and Kat aren't exclusive. Oh, well, I will say he's been said that many times. So she said, well, look, I ain't trying to be nobody's side chick. I'm the main character. Okay. I give main character energy. And so Eva tells him, look, I ain't trying to be the villain like my mama, and I'm trying to be the heroine for once. Everything is, happen to be on an upswing, and the last thing I want to do is do anything else that makes me look more any type of close to what my mother is. Okay. So then they're interrupted by a knock at the door. And of course, we know it's none other than Kat on the other side. And she's like, Eva, I know you in the room. If I can hear you. This hotel, they walls, it's not that good. It's not that good. Okay. So, and neither is security, because remember when he let Kat in the room the first time. Just saying. Now, oh God, here's a scene with 4-H. She is prancing around the house in this new nightgown, and she's happy that Bill actually notices. However, actually, I was kind of here for Bill ignoring out of her today, though. But anyway, sorry. Like I said, let me stay here. So anyway, he points out that she doesn't look pregnant. And I said, oh, thank you, Bill. Thank you. I'm glad you see what we see. Okay. So Haley tries to gaslight him and was like, oh, you should be thinking about how I'm not going to be able to wear things like this as I'm growing this ghost baby. You know what I'm saying? And so she starts, doing what she does best, trying to dig for information about the Duprees. And she's like asking Bill, well, where do things stand with them? And Bill said to her, well, we don't really have anything to do with each other unless they want some. So Haley tells him that I was just hopeful that, and us welcoming this imaginary baby, that you would distance yourself. And she was like, but I think that you can't quit the Duprees. And Bill assures her that no, that may have been the case before, but nah, I'm good. I'm kind of cool off the Duprees right now, even though we know he not. It's so funny because Bill divorced her, but still want to be a Dupree so bad. Much like Haley, maybe that's what they have in common. And can we talk about how Haley looked like it just even younger and younger and looks more like his child, and it's starting to become a little low key disturbing. But anyway, let's move on. So Martin gets to Nicole's, and he's just happy to see that his mother is smiling. So Nicole lets him know that, yeah, I'm going back to work full time. I ain't gonna let nobody stop my grind. I'm back on it. So Martin tells her that, look, I feel bad because I feel like I'm about to set you back when you trying to move forward. So Nicole is curious, like, okay, well, why wouldn't you just, I thought you told me the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And Martin said, nah, I think I've become addicted to hiding the truth, if you want to be honest. Okay. And so he decides to break the news to her that KKK Kenny had come back to harass him and his family. And however, he was taken up out of here. All right. And so he said that Joey, Marcel, and Elon are all involved. Okay. And he said, so I didn't do it. Me and Granddad, we were both in the dark. And so she's like, so all of this is Bill's fault, basically. So Nicole reassures him, look, you don't need to keep nothing else from me. Okay. And she said, I'm your mother and I'm going to fight harder than anybody to protect you. And I said, oh, I love it. So he apologizes for basically being selfish. And, he was like, I thought I was protecting you. And he admits that he didn't tell her because a part of him was still thinking about running for president. And he didn't want to lose that dream on that back road. Nicole tells Martin that, look, we can only learn from our mistakes. You know what I'm saying? And so Nicole she's blaming herself for not seeing basically what was going on with Ted and what was going on with Martin. And so Martin's like, nah, I ain't gonna let you do that to yourself. That was my fault for allowing Bill to orchestrate this whole cover up. Nicole tells him, well, look, since I'm going back to work, why don't we start to work some of these things out that you're going through? And so Martin agrees. And then she's like, I hate to cut it short, but I got some business to handle. And I love the business that she wouldn't handle. I was here for it. Okay. So then we see Naomi rush over to her grandparents, and the first thing she's like, I just want to know the truth, because they like, damn, we wasn't expecting you, and then you come in all abrupt and stuff, like, hey, yeah, so what's going on? Because Jacob is going nuts, and it's something about Martin. And so can you let me in? She tells him about Jacob's case and how it's not making any sense to her, and how it leads to a secret that Martin's been hiding for the last 2 years, and questions, why hasn't this been a family discussion? And so then she's like, oh, so basically I'm out of the loop. Okay, gotcha. All right. So Anita tells her, look, baby, okay, it's a little complicated. And Vernon confirms, look, it's a legal matter. So Naomi puts 2 and 2 together, and she's like, oh, it's something criminal, huh? Oh. And she said, and you don't want to tell me because I'm married to Deputy Duga. Oh, I understand. She said, but look, and so, yeah, they want to keep Naomi out of it. But she feels like, no, I need to know so I can figure out, what I can do to help. So I love this. I thought this was the cutest moment. Because I feel like Vernon gave her $1. Maybe it was a $20 bill. I don't know. But it was the cutest thing in the world. So basically, Vernon takes money out of his pocket, and he tells her that he's retaining her as his attorney. And so now they have client attorney privilege, and she can't tell Jacob. All right. So Vernon and Anita sit down, and they start breaking down what happened that night. And then they let her know that Bill and Joey decided to end the problem permanently. And so Naomi is just upset to hear that, her father is involved, something else bad that she learned about him. And so Vernon said, he's trying to soak up some of the responsibility, and says, I shouldn't have even went to Bill, but I didn't realize, that he was going to take it this far. My bad. So I loved this scene. We see Nicole go bam on Bill's door, right? And she said, you know what? I never liked this anyway. And then she said, y'all know, you know what I want to say, but I can't say it. He's an unaliver. All right. And this is all in front of Haley. Haley is like, what? So Haley is all shocked to hear Nicole call Bill an unaliver. And she's like, for the first time, you're showing some resemblance to your sister. You know what I'm saying? Basically, Danny, right? And so Haley tries to, and she's like, get out of my house. And Bill said, pipe down, little girl. Can you give me and Nicole a minute to talk? And so once Haley leaves, he's like, are you crazy? So Nicole's like, oh, well, I don't care if she don't know. Does she know who her baby daddy really is? Just like you didn't bother to tell me that Ted was somebody else's baby daddy. And Bill's like, you wouldn't do that. because you don't even like Haley for real. And so Nicole said, look, she challenges him and she said, look, I'll run upstairs and give Haley the whole rundown on who you really are. I said, ooh. So Bill lets her know, look, I was just a supporting player in the equation, okay? I just came in and made the layup. I wasn't even, you know what I'm saying? And he said, it's your family who kept you in the dark. Nicole's like, no, no, no. What you're not going to do is try to equate my family keeping a secret to you orchestrating a man's unaliving. So Bill says, look, the only thing that I ever unalived was the law. Okay. That's the only thing. So Nicole's like, no, stop. Okay. I know the whole story. And I don't understand if you're such a good lawyer, why you had to go about doing it like this and dragging my son into the mud, deeper into the mud. I don't understand that. You're supposed to be so good legally. And I was like, well, that was a very good point. So Bill was like, look, first of all, it is your family that asked me to clean up this mess. Okay, sweetheart. And so he's like, do you know what would have happened if Martin had to stand trial for unaliving this man 2 years ago? He would probably be in prison. And that would have ruined his whole political career and destroyed the whole, Dupree legacy. And Nicole said, look, there are more important things than politics, sir. So Bill fires back that as much as she don't like the way he handled it, he's the one that saved Martin, not her. And that's what's really pissing her off. And I said, ooh. So then Nicole tells Bill, look, you think you saved Martin, but you damaged my entire family. And she said, I wish we never met you. So Bill said, look, yeah, the Duprees have taken a hit, but this is a self-inflicted wound, okay? Because this is all your daddy. This is all Vernon. He said, how many good men from good families need cleanup men? And he answers it for her. He said, they don't. They live a life that doesn't require them to. And Vernon would rather have an image versus actually doing the work to become a good family. I said, ooh. So then he goes on to say, I was like you once. I was a believer too. And he starts, going down memory lane about Danny bringing him home to meet Vernon and how he was looking for that father figure because his daddy won't. Or he actually said his daddy was a bum. But instead, of Vernon, but he said, but instead of Vernon making me a better man, he used me to help him clean up his wrongdoings. And I ain't even gonna hold you. I thought it was, you can tell this really hurt to Bill. I definitely think he wanted to mean more to Vernon than Vernon, I guess maybe the attention or time he showed him. And I think that he did all things, it's like a kid that wants attention. So they're going to continue to do stuff to be like, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. And I guess Vernon always just kind of paid him dust until he needed him. And yeah, that's what it's giving. That's what it's giving. Just my opinion. Tells her, look, y'all are not gods. You are basically mere mortals. Okay. And so Nicole, I love when she's like, look, you and your tiny violin. She said, you know what? You don't need any of my father's fairy dust. Okay. She said, stay away from my son and my entire family. And Bill said, look, as long as they don't come looking for me. And Nicole said, and if they do, just say no. Okay. So Nicole brings up how her family was on the precipice 2 years ago, and they're there now. And she accuses of Bill being the devil on their shoulder, giving them the easy way out. And I said, oh. And she said, Martin is a good man. And how Bill has put all of this on him. It's much worse than Martin ever losing a seat in Congress. And when I tell you at this point, Bill looks like he's about to cry. Like I said, damn. Not her being able hit him where it hurts like Vernon do. And so Nicole says, Martin is so damaged by all his fixing that he can barely see it. But she said, that's going to end today. Because she said, I know the whole truth. And now I'm the fixer. I said, shh. Stand on business, Nicole. Then we get it, Deputy Do Good again, okay? He's down at Orphe Jean's when Martin rolls in. And so he goes up to Martin and letting him know that, oh, I heard about you and Smitty, and I'm really rooting for y'all. So he decides to take a seat, uninvited, And so he's like, yeah, Smitty told me about you ordering protection for the kids. And he's like, why did you, why'd you take a step away to protect them from Kenny? Martin is just sitting there looking at him like, you really want me to say something to you? And it's so funny because you know what? I never really thought about it. I don't think we've ever gotten a Jacob really Martin scene like that. Am I wrong about that? I don't think we've gotten one because yeah, I can't see them interacting. They don't look like they would ever be friends. Like, so this is funny to me because Martin's just like, I know we family, but we're not cool. Like, you may be doing your thing with Smitty, but we're not friends. Am I wrong in that? Y'all let me know in the comments. Anyway, he sits there and he's like, yo, man, if you need me, let me know. I'll help you. He just want to do good. So Martin says, look, as far as I know, the guy hasn't made contact again. And I've been at the Grands and I only have secondhand knowledge about my kids right now. And so Deputy Do Good said, look, well, I'm here for you if you want to talk. Martin shrugs it off. I'm a public figure. Okay. Threats gonna be threats. That's usual. I'm good. I'm good, Jacob. And as far as my personal business, that's for me and Smitty to work out. Okay. It mentions how, and so Jacob's like, damn. Even when y'all not talking, y'all still on the same page. And so he said Smitty also refused to answer any questions, which, that makes deputies that want to do good suspicious. He's like, I don't understand. It's not like any of y'all, either one of y'all committed a crime. And so Martin says, look, this little article Smitty was working on about Malone, that ain't got nothing to do with me. Okay. And then he said, Jake, and I feel like you're fishing, bruh. I feel like you're fishing. Jacob says, look, I'm just worried. And there was a body found in the park that happened the same time during your press conference. And Martin said, and so Martin downplays it and basically says, you know what? I'm happy Marcel is on the case, with all his experience. And I said, ooh, Jacob, if that ain't a sit your ass down, I don't know what is. Moving along, back at the hotel, Eva tells Tomas to go hide in the bathroom. And Cat lets her know, look, I can hear you, right? She said, look, I'm not here to fight you, but, basically, my mom needs your help. So Tomas is refusing to go in the bathroom. And he's like, let me do the talking, okay? So when Eva opens the door, Cat starts going off. So she did lie a little bit, okay? But she's going off about Leslie trying to frame Nicole, okay? So then she walks in to see Tomas, and so she takes a pause, tomatoes, okay? And so Tomatoes lies, okay, to Cat and says, well, look, I was just here trying to pick up one of these nerdy books from Eva. And so he's like, but you know what? I can go. And Cat said, no, you stay. Because you haven't gotten what you came for yet. And I was here for it. I said, yes, hold him to task. So then Eva is like giving him the side eye because literally yesterday you was telling me that y'all want a thing and y'all want exclusive and you was trying to get to know me better. So Tomas's Tomatoes now regrets not hiding in the bathroom. Okay. And thinks that, oh damn, I think Cat hates you more than ever because at this point she's left. And so Eva mentions how you said you didn't want to hide, but that's what you just did. And so she said, I thought you weren't exclusive with Cat. And if you're not, then you're definitely something, because if you hadn't told her you weren't there for this book, y'all be done. And basically you didn't say that because you didn't want that. Of course, Tomatoes claims, no, I didn't want Cat to take it out on you. And he was like, I am so happy that I pumped my brakes before things got messy. So she said, you know what? She finds a little book and she tells him, you know what? Keep it. Says, because I'm capable of letting go of the story once I'm done with it. And so Tomatoes tells her, no, but I really care about you and I want to keep being part of your story. And when he leaves, Eva says, the end, bitch. Okay. That's the end for me. And I hope it is for her. But Catherine, Like I said, I'm gonna hold off. I'm still processing. Anyway, well, speaking of Catherine, Kat is down at Orphy Jean's venting to Martin about what she walked in on. Martin tells her that he's sorry and asks if, did you catch him in bed? And Kat's like, no, I think it's before or after. But, then Tomas claimed that he was there to borrow a damn book. And so Kat questions, why Tomas would think that she would deal with a cheater after she's told him about Ted. And then especially with Eva of all people. And so Martin asked her, well, look, maybe you got it wrong and you might be reaching. And he tries to make her realize, like, not all men are bad. And so of course Kat's like, oh, you're right. And you and granddad are the best. And then of course Martin is looking guilty as hell because obviously we know Kat is still not aware of his secret yet. So back at the Dupree house, Naomi is really upset because, she thought Bill had changed somehow. And so she's really upset learning that he could be capable of having someone unalived, right? And so she's like, and I'm half of that man. And so Vernon feels like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have told you. And so Naomi said, no, I wanted to help. And said, now Jacob is investigating Martin because he's thinking he's doing what you would do. Okay. And so Anita said, well, how much does he really know? And Naomi said, look, he don't know everything, but he's putting it together fast. So she said Martin's case 2 years ago would be self-defense, but the cover-up and conspiracy could get them charged as accessories. So she warns them that there's a strong possibility that this ain't going to stay covered up for too long. Appreciate you being here. And like I said, I'm going to go process my feelings. I have to go watch it again and maybe I'll be better processed. But I'm not happy right now. Okay. So yeah. If you guys haven't already, please do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that like button for me. Make sure that if you comment, okay. Make sure that you guys subscribe. And make sure you hit the notification bell, all right? And make sure you're following us on all the platforms. That's TikTok, IG, Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook. Also, make sure you guys, for our Shy Crowd, Nels will be going live tomorrow at 12 p.m. with VKJ TV. And do not forget about our Sunday live at 10 p.m. for BMF because it did come back on this week. So we will be live Sunday night, 10 p.m. Have a good night. Bye-bye. Have a good weekend and be safe.